I begged my husband to come be with me during chemo. When he finally showed up, he brought a woman I'd never met before. This is my new girlfriend. She'll be taking over when you're gone. The treatment room went silent as 12 patients whipped their heads around. Brooke has been incredible at supporting me through this hard time for us, he said. The woman wearing my missing Christmas earrings smiled at me. Peter's told me so much about you. My mouth opened, but no words came out. The nurse broke the silence first. Sir, this is a treatment room. Family only. Peter didn't even hesitate. Brooke is family, he said, squeezing her hand. Or she will be soon, when the inevitable finally happens. He checked his watch. We can't stay. Brooke has a showing at 2. Just wanted you two to meet. They left before I could find my voice. Before I could ask why. That night, alone in our bed while Peter was working late, everything clicked into place. It wasn't just an affair. Brooke was the realtor from his office, the one he'd mentioned months ago. Her husband was deployed overseas, and she was supposedly looking for an apartment for when he came back. Peter started working late the same month Brooke began her viewings, and right after my diagnosis, Peter began asking me for money. Suddenly, his cousin's kids had cancer and needed $2,000 every month. He knew I'd recently inherited money, and after chemo, when I could barely keep my eyes open, he'd hand me withdrawal slips to sign. It all made sense now. The $2,000 wasn't for any cousin's kids. It was their rent. Peter and Brooke had moved in together the same day I got diagnosed. 2 days later, I was back in the treatment chair when a man in a press suit walked in. Brooke Mitchell, he asked flatly. That's me, I said. He handed me a stack of papers. Your husband is petitioning for your medical power of attorney. I'm here on his behalf. I stared down at the papers. My voice shook. He's claiming my brain is too damaged to make my own decisions. Tears blurred my vision. You know he'll stop my treatment and let me die. Why are you helping him? The lawyer just shrugged. Just business, I guess. Then my phone rang. Peter, what are you doing? I managed between sobs. You and Brooke, you're dying anyway, he interrupted, his tone calm, almost bored. I just want both of us to suffer less. But I'm responding to treatment, I cried. Doctors say that just to keep you paying them longer, he said. Anyway, you should be grateful I haven't abandoned you completely. This is harder on me, you know, watching you deteriorate. At least you get to rest soon. I have to live with this trauma forever. If you really loved me, you'd understand how much I need Brooke's support right now. He was actually making himself the victim. Peter, the lawyer, said this is standard. Don't make this difficult, he added. Then the line went dead. I sat there shaking, tears streaming down my face. The entire treatment room had gone silent. Some faces looked shocked, others filled with pity. That's when I decided to give my husband exactly what he wanted. 72 hours later, he got his papers back. He got his precious power of attorney, except it was only for dental decisions, and since I wasn't getting dental treatment, it was completely useless. The best part? I mailed it directly to his office during his partner meeting. I even taped a penny to the envelope with a note, "Buy Brooke something nice." He had to open it in front of his superiors and explain why he wanted medical power over his wife, and why there were rumors of an affair with an intern. That evening, my phone lit up with 17 missed calls. I didn't answer a single one. I was done crying. I was ready to fight. I opened my laptop and started digging. I found proof he'd stolen $48,200. I logged into his social media and found texts to his brother. How long before I can date publicly without looking bad? Then I saw his Google searches. Stage 3 breast cancer, life expectancy. He'd even tried to raise my life insurance 3 times, all denied in the past 8 months. Meanwhile, online, he was posting photos at cancer support walks, wearing pink ribbons, donating the money he stole from me to research. My lawyer was drafting the divorce papers when the next letter came. Peter was petitioning for control of all my finances. The day of the hearing, I noticed a scar on his neck that hadn't been there before. The trial began. And Brooke was the first to take the stand. She sat there perfectly composed, hands folded, voice trembling just enough to seem sincere. I've been close with the family for 2 years now, she began. Kelly used to be vibrant. She made eye contact with me, but now she's changed. Just last week, she threw her medicine in the trash. She hesitated, then choked up. Peter. Peter has a scar on his neck from when she threw boiling water at him. The courtroom gasped. Peter lifted his collar, touching the scar as fake tears filled his eyes. It's true, Your Honor, he said softly. Even the judge looked disgusted. By the time Brooke finished, they thought they'd already won. What they didn't realize was that chemo wasn't just killing the cancer. It was killing every last piece of me that still loved Peter. So when I took the stand, they had no idea what was coming. I took a slow, steady breath and looked straight at the judge. Peter and I were happy, I began calmly, until my diagnosis. Then everything changed overnight, when Peter suddenly needed money for his cousin's sick kids. I pulled out the first folder, a stack of bank statements, lines highlighted in yellow. The withdrawals started the same week I was diagnosed, I said, pointing to the dates. $2,000 every single month. The judge leaned forward, squinting at the numbers. I watched her eyes move slowly across the page, tracing the pattern I'd marked. Peter shifted in his chair, his knee bouncing under the table. I handed the next document to the clerk, who passed it to the judge. This is a lease agreement I found in Peter's email, I said steadily. He and Brooke signed it 2 days after my diagnosis. The rent? Exactly $2,000 a month, the same amount he said his cousin needed for cancer treatment. The judge's eyebrows lifted. Peter's lawyer leaned in close, whispering something urgent. Across the room, Brooke stared down at her hands, her face flushed. She looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. I took out the next packet, my heart pounding, but my voice calm. This is Peter's Google search history, I explained. From our shared cloud account, before he locked me out. The judge took the pages. Her expression hardened as she read. Stage 3 breast cancer survival rate. How long does chemo take to kill someone? Life insurance payout timeline. The courtroom went dead silent. Someone in the back gasped loud enough for everyone to hear. Peter's face turned a sickly gray. I didn't stop. Next, I said, laying out 3 forms on the table. These are life insurance applications. Peter tried to raise my coverage from $100,000 to $500,000, all within the first few months after my diagnosis. All 3 were denied. The companies flagged them as suspicious. I paused, looking straight at him. He never told me about any of them. The judge's pen scratched across her notepad, fast and furious. I connected my phone to the courtroom screen. These, I said, are text messages between Peter and his brother. The messages filled the screen, and I read them aloud. How long before I can date publicly without looking bad? The treatment's expensive, but worth it for the payout. The room went still again. Peter's brother's replies discussed how they'd handle things after I was gone. Peter's hands were shaking now, gripping the edge of the table like it could anchor him. I switched to the next image set. These are screenshots from Peter's social media, I said. Cancer walks. Pink ribbons. Donation checks to research funds. The judge nodded, lips tight. Now, I added, bringing up another file beside the photos. These are the corresponding bank records. Every single check came from my inheritance account. Without my permission. Without my knowledge. He was using my grandmother's money to buy himself sympathy points. The judge's neutral expression cracked. Her eyes were cold now. I took another breath and continued. Peter brought Brooke to my chemotherapy session, I said quietly. Introduced her as family, even though it violated the treatment room's family-only rule. My nurse filed a statement about how inappropriate and cruel it was. The clerk handed it over. The judge read, her jaw tightening as she did. Then she looked up at Peter, and the fury in her eyes said everything. I picked up the next folder, thicker than all the rest. These are my medical records, I said. They show my cancer is responding well to treatment, and that my cognitive function is completely normal. I opened to the tabbed page. Dr. Figueroa's report states that I understand my diagnosis, my options, and my prognosis. It completely contradicts Peter's claim that my brain is too damaged to make decisions. The judge took her time, flipping through each page. When she looked up, I slid the next paper forward. This, I said, is the original medical power of attorney Peter tried to make me sign. It would have given him total control over every decision. His lawyer told me I had 72 hours to sign or face drastic action. I looked the judge in the eye. That felt like a threat. Then I handed her the version I actually sent back. This is the one I replaced it with, I explained. Dental decisions only. I wanted to see what he'd do when his plan failed. A few people in the courtroom murmured, quiet gasps spreading like ripples. Finally, I pulled up the last file emails. These are from Peter's work account, I said. I accessed them before he changed the passwords. The screen filled with messages, vacation plans, furniture lists, talk about our place and our future. The dates ran through my entire treatment period. This proves the affair wasn't just emotional, I said. It was a full relationship. I scrolled to one specific message and read it aloud. Just a few more months and we can stop hiding. Brooke had written that one dot when I looked up. The judge was silent, her gaze fixed on Peter. The courtroom was so quiet I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. I reached into my folder and pulled out a set of photos. These are pictures of Peter's neck scar, I said, handing them to the clerk. Now, here's my chemotherapy schedule. I pointed to the date, October 15th, the day Peter claimed I attacked him. I was at the hospital for a 6-hour infusion. My nurse signed a statement confirming I never left. Peter's lawyer shifted uncomfortably. I also hired a digital forensics expert, I continued, connecting my laptop to the courtroom screen. The photo Peter submitted was taken 3 weeks earlier, on September 22nd, and it was edited. The judge turned to Peter's lawyer. Counsel, can you explain this discrepancy? She asked sharply. He stammered, Your Honor, I wasn't aware, but the judge had already started taking notes. I lifted another page. This is a statement from my sister, Celine. Peter asked her to lie, to say she'd seen me become violent. She refused and told me everything. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Next came the credit card statements. These are from Peter's personal card, I said, showing charges highlighted in yellow. A $3,000 resort trip during what he called a work conference. Fancy dinners, hotels, jewelry, all while telling me we needed to cut costs because of my treatment. Then I displayed another file. Here are documents for a fake charity Peter made up, supposedly for his cousin's kids with cancer. My accountant traced every dollar to a joint account he shares with Brooke. Peter's face was ashen, his knuckles white. I showed text messages from friends who said they tried to visit, but Peter told them I was too sick or didn't want company. I looked at the judge. He isolated me so no one could see what he was doing. Then I opened Peter's private calendar. These entries start a week after my diagnosis, I said. Meetings with divorce attorneys. Notes like, discuss asset protection. He planned to leave me from the beginning. He just wanted my money first. Finally, I played a hospital parking lot video. Peter and Brooke appeared, laughing, then kissing before walking into my treatment building. This was the same day he brought her to my chemo appointment, I said quietly. It wasn't support, it was humiliation. The room filled with whispers of disgust. I ended with one last email. 3 weeks ago, I said, reading from the screen, Peter wrote to Brooke, the doctors are too optimistic. We need to take control of the situation ourselves. The courtroom went silent except for the judge's pen moving across the page. How much longer do we have to wait? That was from Brooke. Those emails made it clear. They were hoping I'd die and angry that treatment was working. I reached for my final folder. This is my medical journal, I said. I've documented every symptom, medication, and appointment since diagnosis. The judge flipped through the pages carefully. Dr. Figueroa reviewed it, I continued. She said it shows exceptional focus and engagement. Peter's lawyer whispered urgently to him, but Peter just stared ahead. Brooke had tears streaming down her face, but no one cared. I opened another letter. Peter tried to convince my oncologist to stop my chemo, I said. He told her I wanted to do natural remedies. Dr. Figueroa's notes confirm I never said that. She refused his request and documented his interference. The judge read the letter slowly as Peter shifted in his seat. Then I connected my phone to the courtroom screen. This is a recording, I said, of Peter telling me I was dying anyway. His voice filled the room. You're dying anyway. I just want us both to suffer less." The judge's expression darkened as the 2-minute clip played. People in the gallery gasped when he said he needed Brooke's support. I showed the next file. Peter emptied our joint savings account 2 days after I sent him the dental POA, $15,000. He left me with nothing during chemo. The judge's pen didn't stop moving. "These messages," I said, pulling up screenshots, "are what he sent our friends before I could speak up. He said I was paranoid and violent. He was turning people against me before the truth came out." Then I opened a real estate listing. "This is the apartment Peter and Brooke share," I said. "These are his belongings, his watch, his chair, everything." Brooke went white as the images appeared. Next came a list of account passwords. Peter changed every shared login the same day I sent him the dental POA, I explained. He was trying to lock me out before I could expose him. Luckily, I'd already saved everything. I held up my grandmother's will. "This proves the $48,200 Peter stole was money she left for my future. Her will says, for Kelly's security and dreams. He didn't just steal money, he stole her last gift to me." My voice cracked, and the judge looked at Peter with open anger. "These are witness statements from my chemotherapy nurses," I said. "They describe me as alert and decisive. They say Peter's visits were controlling and disruptive. One even wrote that she feared for my safety." Finally, I showed the last file. These are Peter's internet searches, financial power of attorney, conservatorship, all from the week after my diagnosis. He planned everything from the start. He was looking for legal ways to control my money and medical decisions before I even started treatment, I said. One email to a lawyer even asked how to prove someone is mentally incompetent. The courtroom went silent as the emails appeared on the screen. "This," I continued, opening another folder, "is the visitor log from my treatment center. Peter came to every appointment the first month after my diagnosis. Then, as I started improving, his visits dropped off almost completely. The log shows he stopped coming once it was clear I might survive, contradicting everything he said about being a devoted caregiver." Next, I displayed a bank manager's statement. 3 weeks after my diagnosis, Peter went to our bank claiming I was mentally unfit and demanded full control of my accounts, including my inheritance. The bank manager refused, noting I had been there 2 days earlier handling everything clearly. She even filed a report for potential elder abuse, I said quietly. "I'm 34. The statement described Peter as aggressive and insistent that I was too sick to think clearly. The judge read carefully as Peter's lawyer shuffled papers, searching for an objection. I held up a thick report. "These are my recent cognitive test results," I said. Tucker arranged testing after Peter claimed I had brain damage. Every score was normal to above average, no impairment at all. The psychologist wrote that I showed full understanding of my medical and financial situation. Peter's face turned red as the judge examined each page. I turned my laptop toward the screen again. "These are Brooke's social media posts," I said. She called Peter my Peter and posted photos of their apartment with captions like, "Home sweet home with my love." She deleted them after I sent Peter the dental POA, but I already had screenshots. The posts span my entire treatment. This affair wasn't new. I pointed to a large poster board. "Valerie helped me build this timeline," I explained. "It connects every major event." The pattern was clear. Every time I showed signs of recovery, Peter escalated his control. When my tumor markers improved in July, he tried to raise my life insurance. When my scans showed progress in September, he told the bank I was unfit. The better I got, the worse he became. The judge traced the lines of the chart slowly, saying nothing. "These," I said next, holding up a stack of papers, "are statements from my neighbors. 3 saw Peter moving our belongings out of the house at 2 a.m. during my first month of treatment, 4 trips over 2 weeks. 1 almost called the police. He emptied our home while I was too sick from chemo to notice." Finally, I opened one last document. Peter also called my oncologist's office, claiming I was having panic attacks and needed sedatives. Dr. Figueroa refused. Her notes say I showed no signs of anxiety and that his request seemed manipulative. She documented it as inappropriate and concerning. The judge looked up from the page, her expression hardening. Peter didn't look up once. I showed the court a letter from my insurance company. This is about Peter's attempt to list me as disabled without my knowledge, I explained. He filed forms claiming I couldn't work or manage my affairs due to cancer. The insurance company contacted me directly, and I told them I never authorized the claim. They rejected his submission and confirmed in writing that it was filed without my consent. Next, I displayed emails between Peter and Brooke. These messages show how they plan to handle me if I resisted signing over medical power of attorney, I said. In one, Peter wrote, if she fights this, we'll have to claim she's a danger to herself. Brooke replied that they should start documenting any erratic behavior. Another message discussed getting me declared incompetent through court. People in the courtroom looked horrified as the emails appeared on the screen. I then presented my employment records. I've worked part-time through my entire treatment, I said. My performance reviews are excellent. My boss's statement described me as reliable, organized, and fully capable, proof that I could manage both work and life responsibilities. If I can handle clients and projects during chemotherapy, I said, I can certainly handle my own affairs. I held up the next folder. These are consultation notes from 3 divorce attorneys, I said. Peter met with them just a week after my diagnosis. He'd asked about hiding assets, minimizing spousal support, and whether my illness would affect a divorce settlement. One attorney even refused to represent him, writing that he seemed more concerned with money than his wife's health. Then I turned to the family isolation evidence.